This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by our partners in the field, Federal Premium Ammunition, Benelli Shotguns, and by Walton's Inc. Speaking of Walton's Inc., our guest today works at Walton's, and considering the COVID-19 crisis we're facing in this world, the topic of food makes a lot of sense. We're going to talk about food safety, food storage, and plenty other food-related items, both pertaining to your wild game and just the food that you're buying today at the grocery store. Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I am Travis Frank. I am your host, and I am like you. I am dealing with one of the most unprecedented times in my lifetime, in most of our lifetimes right now. I apologize because I am not in our normal studio today, but we're going to do our best to bring you an episode here that really relates to our life, the stuff that we're all going through right now. Jonathon Tremblay works at Walton's Inc. Jonathon, I appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show this week. How are you doing?
Doing great, Travis, all things considering. Happy to be on the Flush Podcast with you.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. This topic has been kind of weighing on me a little bit, thinking, we like to tell stories about people and the inspiring things that they're doing and hoping to get others out there. But right now, we're not hunting. And we're all in this situation. So I thought, the stores by my place, people are hoarding items like I've never seen before. I'm in Minnesota, central Minnesota right now. And I'm guessing you're seeing probably similar things in your places.
So we're in Wichita, Kansas. And to be honest, other than 2 weeks ago when there was no toilet paper anywhere for some odd reason, it doesn't make any sense. And then last week we had a shortage of ground beef and of just regular chicken breast. But other than that, I've got to say, the stores have been really good at stocking their shelves. We don't have a lot of cases here in Wichita. So it's honestly, it's a little surreal sitting here from the middle of the country, watching it happen and not having it right here affecting my day-to-day life as much as it is the rest of the country.
Yeah, you mentioned that you do have family in New York. What are they telling you right now?
So some of them are on basically exactly what you are, hard lockdown, no leaving the house for anything other than the absolute essentials. And that would be basically food or medical supplies. That's it. They're not to leave the house to go to work unless they're essential. And their definition of essential is, I think, a little bit different than what we're doing. Down here, I'm considered essential because I'm part of the food processing industry. Up there, you're a doctor, you're a policeman, or you're staying at home, basically.
Wow. Are they nervous? I mean, have you talked to them directly recently? I mean, are they nervous about what's happening around them?
Yeah, I keep in touch with them. We all have a big family text that we keep going on. That's been the one nice thing to come out of all this is we've been talking multiple times a day. No, they're all people who are smart enough to, have prepared ahead a little bit. They saw this coming, grabbed some extra food. So, they're more than anything else, they're worried just about the economy.
Right. Well, what are you guys seeing? Right. Well, actually, what are you at Walton's doing right now? Is you have a store, but you've closed that to people coming in, but your online store is still open, correct?
That is correct, yeah. So online and call-in orders are still going out the same day they're ordered. We did close our retail store, but local customers, we are giving them still the option to place their orders either online or they can show up. We have a sign out front. We did a bunch of social media posts so they can call in an order and then head around to the back where the warehouse is to pick it up. So it's, other than them not being able to browse, it's not much of a change for them.
Gotcha. So for people listening right now that don't know, Walton's has something like 4,000 different items, right? I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I mean, what do you know how many food processing related items you have?
I don't, but it is over 4,000.
Wow.
I mean, it changes from month to month, but yeah.
Are you concerned right now that any of your products are going to run out of stock? Are you seeing any of the items not coming in?
Yeah, we have already run out of most of our sanitizers, and there's a really long wait on getting those refilled from our suppliers. We've also taken, the unprecedented step of taking our nitrile, any type of rubber disposable glove off the website, whereas you can't go and just order it. We did that in an effort to try to make sure our commercial processors who have already been our customers have access to some of them. We didn't want somebody, and they attempted to do it a few times, to have somebody else come in and buy our entire stocks that then they could have them.
Oh, so they wanted to buy them and then profit off of them, probably.
Exactly. Yep. So what we just want to make sure that, the medium-sized processors, the small and medium-sized butcher shops, those have been our customers for forever, and they're a really critical part of making sure everybody has enough meat. So we want to make sure that they're going to be able to run as long as possible. And once they run out of gloves and things like that, it's going to be hard for them to keep going. So,
beyond that, are there any other products that you're not able to get because manufacturing plants in some states have been told they can't work right now?
At this point, not really anything that we haven't been able to get. We have had some, issues with people who I'm sure have suppliers overseas. Things aren't shipping on those enormous tankers like they used to. At the best of times, those took a couple months. Now, who knows when that's going to start up again.
What items are you seeing people buying right now on your site? I mean, is there, obviously we all heard about everybody ran out to get toilet paper, but considering the industry that you guys work in, I mean, you're talking about some pretty unique items, I would imagine, but are there certain ones that you're kind of surprised about?
The one I'd be more surprised about, and it was just initially, once I sat and thought about it for a second, it made sense, but 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 even pound meat bags. So when you go to a processor and you see that, if you're getting ground beef, it's usually red checkered white bag that holds the ground beef. Those we're selling like incredibly fast. And we do sell a lot of those, but this was something a little bit different. They were flying off the shelf. But that does make sense once you realize that everybody was going to their local grocery store and wasn't able to find ground beef for the first time in I don't even know how long ever. I've never seen a shortage on that before. Other than that, we have been selling a lot of cured sausage seasonings. I haven't really noticed an uptick in cures by itself, but it does kind of look like people are trying to think of ways to extend the life of whatever they have at home. I'm assuming it's either, wild game that they've had in the freezer or something like that.
As soon as this first hit a couple weeks ago, this might seem kind of ridiculous, but I know that as a hunter, I'm not alone. One of the first things when I literally saw the parking lot to the grocery stores in my community so full that people couldn't get in there, I thought, I've got a whole freezer full of wild game. Like I told my wife, I go, we're going to be okay for a while. And I'm like, and I explained to her the meat that, we've processed and, venison. I shot multiple deer last year. I've got, ducks. I got turkey. I only have one pheasant left, unfortunately. But I just said, we're okay. And she goes, yeah, part of my language here, but she goes, yeah, we get the meat shits if that's all we eat. It's just meat. And I go, I don't know. But I mean, my mind went to just, feeling sort of in some ways proud to know that I've already supplied enough food that we're going to make it for quite a while and help other people if it gets to that point. Fortunately, we're continuously being told that our food supply chain is going to continue, which is obviously a great thing. But like you said, you're seeing people that are now, interested in food in ways that they've never had to think about before. Like, what happens if I need to stock up, or how do I cure meat, or how do I make my own sausage, or, things like that. So, I mean, this show today, I want to talk about a couple of your favorite upland bird hunting recipes, but we'll save that to the end. And I also have my favorite recipe that I want to share. But before we get to that, I'd love to talk about how people can start processing their own food, their own meat, cure it, things like that. Before we even get into that, though, let's just learn a little bit more about you. How long have you been working at Walton's? What is your role there? I want people to understand what you do so that they understand that the information you're telling them is solid, especially now.
Sure. So I've been at Walton's 5.5-ish years. I started out there in their customer service department. When I took this job, I had never done anything with meat processing other than cooking steaks on the grill. My wife and I were from New York, and neither one of us liked our jobs. She worked with a headhunter. So she came home one day and she said, "What do you think about Wichita, Kansas?" I said, "I'd never thought a single thing about Wichita, Kansas ever." But she came down for a visit, liked the company, and so we just decided to go with it. So we came down here. I started looking for jobs. About a month in, I had an interview at Walton's. And I remember leaving that interview and calling my wife and saying, "I really don't even care what they offer me. Like, I'm taking this job." Just from a 15, 20-minute interview, got a good feeling for the culture, really liked the people that interviewed me and who I'd be working for. So I am one of the very few people, lucky few, who, I love my job. What I do now is I'm our content creator. So I do all of our how-to videos, our product review videos, and I'm responsible for putting on new products on the website, as well as sometimes bringing those products in. So honestly, a lot of what I get to do is make sausage, review sausage, and eat sausage. I mean, you can't, there aren't too many of those jobs out there.
Right. We spent a day in the kitchen together, oh gosh, maybe a year ago, something like that. You were talking about all of these technical terms in relation to the meat, and we were like, well, how do we say this on camera? How do we explain this? And you're like, well, technically you need to do this to get meat extraction, and all of these other terms that I think the average hunter that doesn't really get into their food, they might just say, I'm going to just go take it and drop it off at the meat market and let them do it for me. But there's a lot of information that you've obtained since working there.
Absolutely.
What is it like working with Brett and the Walton family? Because Brett is just like one of the nicest guys I think I've ever met. Yeah,
he definitely is. I will sound a little gushing here, or however you want to say it, but an absolutely great family. It's not just him. He has 2 kids who work directly for him, who are now also part owners in the company. Both great kids, Austin and Dylan. It would be easy to come in from the outside and look at that, and resentment's the wrong word. Be like, "Oh, well, you're the owner's son." But no, they work like crazy to make that place as good as it is. And I mean, that's reflecting our growth every year, growing bigger than last year. And I mean, while that might not be the exact goal, that is what happens when everyone's working hard together and you have a good culture.
Right. All right. So you've been there for a few years. You're the content guy. You're the one that puts all the videos out. So basically, like, if I go to waltonsinc.com, like, you break down basically how to use all of the equipment that you guys sell, how to make certain kinds of meats. What is the most common question you get asked?
Well, probably the most common question I get asked is, what went wrong? Like, when somebody has a problem with their sausage, what happens? And most often, honestly, and you kind of alluded to this before, It's protein extraction, not meat extraction, but protein extraction.
That's what
So
I meant to say, of course.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. When somebody's making a sausage and they don't mix it long enough, I mean, that really is the biggest problem. You have to mix and mix and mix until it's got just a ton of stickiness to it. What that's going to do is it binds up the fat, the water, the protein, everything, and it just keeps it all together. Because when we're smoking any type of cured sausage, I mean, we're doing starting out really low and doing a long smoking time. And that's perfect to render out fat. So by getting that really good protein extraction, we're going to prevent that from being able to render out.
Gotcha. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't let's talk about food right now. Let's say somebody they've got a bunch of venison left in their freezer and they want to preserve this meat. What are some things that people can do?
Sure. Right now, the best tool that anyone can have is a vacuum sealer. I mean, if you're a wild game, especially big game hunter, and you're not vacuum sealing your meat, you're losing so much.
What do you lose? What do they lose? I mean, I vacuum pack my meat, so I get it. But what do you lose if you don't?
The amount of time you can store it. We've all eaten that elk that's been in there a little bit too long. Mm-hmm. And even vac sealed, that will eventually happen. I've eaten 6-year-old elk, and even perfectly vacuum sealed at that point, you're like, that wasn't great. But still, you should be able to eat a 2 to 3 year vac sealed backstrap, and it should be perfectly fine. Shouldn't have any real degradation as long as it's been vac sealed correctly and it's stored at a consistent and low temperature.
Okay.
If you're just wrapping it with freezer paper and plastic or whatever you're doing, I mean, you got 6 to 12 months, and that's if you know what you're doing. So commercial processors, they'll train a guy to wrap with freezer paper and the double wrap. Mm-hmm. That'll take 5-6 months, just get them going.
5-6 months to teach a guy how to wrap?
Yep. And to do it at speed, right? Not just to do it, but to be able to do it, move on and move on and move on. You switch them to either like a cryovac machine or just a regular vac pack machine, and it cuts down the time it takes, and it makes it a better finished product all around.
What if, so you're saying that they'll get up to 12 months if they do it that route. What about the guy who just throws it in a plastic Ziploc bag and says, good luck?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the same thing back to him. Good luck. You're gonna have terrible freezer burn almost no matter what. It's not going to be a good product. When it defrosts, you're going to see a lot of breakdown of the proteins around the edges of the meat. Now, if you're going to take that and then grind it up and put it in a sausage, will you notice it? Nowhere near as much as if you're doing like a roast or something like that. But you've got to get to it quick. You know, you have 2 to 3 years without a question. If you're going to vac seal it and freeze it, you do the freezer paper and the plastic wrap. You have 6 to 12 months if you're lucky.
When somebody says they want to cure their meat, that could be on people's minds right now, right? Taking the meat and doing something. What does that mean, and how would they do it?
Well, there's a couple different things. First, people have to make a decision right now with their meat that's in their freezer, what they want to do with it. Now, you can take your whole muscle cuts, grind them up to make a ground product, and then make that into some sort of dried or semi-dried sausage. That's a good way to extend it and to get the most out of that meat possible. But if they're going to leave it in its whole muscle, like do a roast or something like that, I strongly urge them just to leave it where it is. If it's in the freezer, don't touch it. Leave it in there. Take it out 2 or 3 days before you're going to cook it up, but just leave it in there. Don't grind it now thinking, I'm just going to grind up a bunch of meat and I'll have all my ground meat ready for long term. The reason that I say that is when you think about the fact that you can order a steak medium rare or even rare at a restaurant but you can't order a rare sausage, right? It's the fact that all of the bacteria on the meat is going to live on the outside. There is very little, if any, bacteria living inside the muscle. Now, as soon as you grind that up, it's all mixed in. So you have to cook everything to that 160-degree mark or somewhere in that range to make sure you're killing any type of microbe or bacteria on there. And especially with wild game hunters, I mean, a big thing to think about, an E. coli bacteria can reproduce, double itself every 20 minutes. So within just over 8 hours, you can have one single E. coli can go to 16 million. I know that sounds ridiculous, but do the math. It does actually work. It goes from 1 to 16 million in just, it's like 8 hours and 20 minutes. It is absolutely amazing how quick this stuff can go. And especially when we're doing things like sausage, we are creating the perfect environment for microbes to grow. That's why sanitation before we start is very important. Sanitation through the entire process is very important, but so is curing. So the term curing, I mean, it can refer to any number of things. When we use it, we're usually talking about something called sodium nitrite, or people will call it pink salts. People will call it prog powder. What it is mostly salt, then some pink dye, and 6.25% of that is going to end up being sodium nitrite. That's what's going to give you your quick curing power. So what happens is the sodium nitrite starts interacting with the water, the meats, the impurities in the water, and it breaks down to nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is what's actually giving us the curing power, what's actually preventing any type of microbial growth. Now, that is also in conjunction with salt. Salt is also very good at fighting the growth of any type of microbes or bacteria. Doesn't kill it, but it does fight the growth.
Told you had a lot of information inside of that head.
Yeah.
When I look at a piece of meat and I'm trying to cure it, I say, how many, I can't even recite some of those statistics.
So very simple. 1 ounce of that sure cure will work for 25 pounds of meat.
I was going to say, my next question is, you guys have already broken that down for people so that if they wanted to do this, they basically say, all right, I've got 5 pounds of meat. And then based on what product you're selling, they can figure out how much to use on there. Once they cure meat, what is the shelf life on that?
It's going to depend. Something on like a jerky, I mean, it's almost indefinite. It'll be fine. The water activity is so low and any moisture or water in it is so tightly bound up that it's not going to grow anything. So it's like a jerky, forever. You say that, but for a very long time. For something like a snack stick, I've eaten 5-year-old snack sticks. As long as they're frozen and packaged correctly, no problems whatsoever. Summer sausage, again, I've eaten it a couple years old, no problem whatsoever.
As long as it's sealed and frozen.
Sealed, frozen, yep. And one thing that a lot of people don't do is when I'm doing a batch of snack sticks, I smoke it, I put it in an ice bath to bring the core temperature down. I want to stop the cooking process and help set the casing to the meat. Then I'm going to leave it out at room temperature for 2 hours. And it's going to all be single laying, a single stack, no double stacking on a table, and just leave it out there for 2 hours. Some people call that blooming, call it whatever you want. It will make the meat like a much nicer reddish color. And then I'm going to move it into a cooler for at least 12 hours before I go ahead and vac pack it. If you try to vac pack it too soon, you're going to create moisture in that bag, and that's going to kill your long-term storage.
A couple weeks ago, I would say most Americans don't really have that much time on their hands right now to really invest into this. And I think that's obviously why a lot of people just drop it off at the store and then come back and pick it up later. But honestly, right now, there's so many families that are together, and this is an opportunity that a lot of us have that we can teach our kids. And I will just say, I grew up, both my mom and dad, they were farmers, and we butchered our own meat. When I went deer hunting with my dad the first time, all I knew was that we processed our own food. So I learned how to make sausage. We have all the tools to do that. But right now, there's a lot of people that have never done it that probably have some meat still available. And they might say, you know what? I kind of want to understand the food a little bit more. I want to try doing this. So you can include your kids on it too, which is the cool thing. And I can speak from experience that say, hey, if you're introduced to this early enough in life, you might find it interesting and something you want to continue to do. So with that being said, I know I ramble a lot, but with that being said, if somebody wanted to start processing their own food right now, it's obviously, if you have the means to do it and you have the meat to do it, it's possible. Do you guys have just a simple sausage making kit for people, or a way for them to make it without having to purchase a lot of items?
So we don't really have a starter kit per se. One of the things we found is that our customers really like to be able to mix and match. We have some customers who will have a $100 grinder and a $300 stuffer. And then we have our commercial customers who have $5,000 grinder or $5,000 grinders and $15,000 stuffers. The nice thing about Walton, though, is they're all going to get the same Excalibur seasoning. So they're going to make the same product. It just might not be as well done. Now, if somebody's looking to get into this for the first time, what I'd recommend they do is decide what type of sausage they basically want to make. Do you want to make a fresh sausage, like a bratwurst, an Italian, something like that? Or are you wanting to focus more on cured long-term sausages like snack sticks, summer sausage, things of that nature? We have we set up a website called Meatgistics, and we can talk more about this later, but we have something on there called Meatgistics University, where we broke down all types of meat processing into a couple different categories. And for cured sausage and fresh sausage, one of the classes we have, I believe it's class 102, and both of them is called Equipment Needed. So if you're going to make a fresh sausage and you're wanting to do it on a budget, almost any grinder that you buy is going to have the capability to stuff, which means you take out the grinding plate, you put on a stuffing horn attachment that it will come with, you put your casing over that, and you can stuff off that grinder. It's not great, but for a fresh sausage, it will definitely work. If you're making cured sausage, if you want to go for those snack steaks, if you want to go for summer sausage, you really can't stuff off those grinders. They'll tell you that they can, and technically you can do it, but you're not going to end up with a good product. In that case, I'd actually recommend that somebody buy a sausage stuffer and just go ahead and buy already ground meat from their grocery store. You're going to end up with a better product that way. Now, if you're a hunter and you want to be turning your venison, your elk, your whatever into snack sticks and summer sausage, there's no way around it. You're going to have to buy both.
Speaking of Meatgistics, you guys have basically set it up so that every skill level, any kind of a meat-related question, you guys probably have the answer for. And you have a community, a university. Can you explain more about Meatgistics? What you guys have set up there?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, Meatgistics, we created it. What we wanted to do is give any Walton's customer all the information they needed to just let them make the best products and get the most out of their purchase. So we started out, we have all sorts of recipes, videos. We've got some tips and tricks, trying to take the experience and the knowledge that we had from the commercial guys and translate that and make it usable for the home person. So we started out with a bunch of how-to videos, and that's really all it was for the first 2 years. I say all it was a lot of work, but teaching people how to make everything from snack sticks. We did a bunch of boudin, things like that, started to get a little bit more advanced. And then the community side really started to grow. We're up to around 10,000 registered users now. Our traffic is way above what 10,000 registered users would be. There's a lot of people just coming there quickly to see how to make something.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be I would log in every morning and part of my job would be responding to questions from the night before. Now, I mean, over half the time I look at something, it's already been answered by somebody 10 minutes after the person posted the question.
Oh, in your community?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Wow.
And answered correctly. Like there's been many times where I'm like, that's literally exactly what I would have said, almost word for word. So it's been really nice to see that. I think the sausage making community is a proud one, and we all like to show like, hey, I know the answer to that. Let me share it. So
yeah. Do you find you have, when it comes to upland birds, you're talking with such a smaller amount of meat per animal that you harvest, or per bird, obviously, that you harvest. But do people want to take that meat and ever make it into sausage?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been doing a lot more playing around with pheasant and quail recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I went ahead not too long ago and I made my first batch of pheasant snack sticks, and they were amazing. I used our Willie snack stick seasoning. And what I think the real key is I just got my hands on some pork fat. I didn't mix it in with pork. I just used pork fat. Great thing about pork fat is it's got very little taste on its own. It's a nice white color and it's incredibly creamy. So, I mean, pheasant by itself, it's not very, it doesn't have a great mouth feel, even though I hate that term. But when you mix it with the pork fat, it worked beautifully as a snack stick.
Interesting. So back to the meatgistics. Really, what I want to give people is information. Right now, if they have questions on the food that maybe it's an excess of food that they want to make sure they're using correctly. If they want to cure it, if they want to do anything different with their food, considering what we're all going through, you guys have basically, it's a live chat room, right? I mean, you have live chat set up as well.
For the most part, it's not a live chat like how most people would think of it. We've got message boards. We have a couple different ones. There's the Walton's community. That's where you can post your questions, get answers from Austin, myself, but mostly recently, other community members. We've got the Learning Center, which is where someone will go if they just want to see how to make a hot dog. And all they care about is that. They don't care about any of the other information. They can go to how to make section of that. Or if they want to do a much deeper dive, about 2 years ago, we created something called Meatgistics University. And that's where we broke everything down into the different categories of meat processing. And then not only do this, why am I doing this? What is this doing? So we broke it down and tried to give people just as much information as possible. And we realized the need for that when I made a video on something, and it could have been 25 minutes long. We're like, well, no one's going to watch this, but this is all good information. Where are we going to put it? So Austin came up with that, and that's been great.
Wow. So in this process, over these years that you've been doing it, you've probably do you have any guess as to how many recipes you've experimented with?
I know we've done about 400 and something videos. Now those aren't all new experiments or something like that, but I mean well over 100 of trying like this seasoning with this and this additives. Yeah, well over 100.
Okay. Let's stay upland bird focused here for a minute. What are let's just say your top 3 ways to prepare upland birds?
So I don't think anyone's going to expect these 3. They're not very common ones. We recently made pulled pheasant sandwiches, and they were unbelievable.
Really? Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. We put them in a crock pot, let them cook for I think we did 6 hours. Then we pulled it, added our favorite barbecue sauce, and they were awesome. And then the other one I already mentioned was the snack sticks. Those were seriously really good. And I was supposed to send Mark, who you work with, a package of them, but I just ate them all.
Don't send them to Mark. Send them to me. Come
okay.
on.
If we make more, I'll certainly make sure you guys get some.
Attention, Travis. Come on, Mark. I'll make sure he gets them.
Okay.
You can trust me. I'll make sure
try
he gets
one or
some.
two. All right.
Yeah.
And then the other one was popcorn pheasant. That was unreal.
Did you just?
So
can you explain how you made the popcorn pheasant?
Yep. So we took this season. It's called Bloody Mary Wing Shake. So it's designed to go on chicken wings, but really it's good on any type of chicken. We mixed that in with some flour. We got an egg wash. We cut the pheasant into smaller sizes, put it in the egg wash, then the flour, back in the egg wash, back in the flour again. And then we just deep fried it in a cast iron skillet. And it was so good. So good.
So I always tell people that, think wild game has a gamey taste. And I'm like, okay, the number one rule when you're cooking any kind of wild game is don't overcook it. Do not overcook it. But I'll admit that sometimes there's certain birds that seem like they dry out a little bit quicker than another bird might. Do you have anything to keep the juices in? Yeah.
The pH of the meat is going to play a huge factor in how juicy it is. The lower the pH, the more acidic, the drier it's going to be. But the flip side of that is low pH also vastly extends your shelf life. So at a time like this, you might want to, think about losing a little. If you're making something for long-term storage, you might want to think about losing a little bit of juiciness for a longer-term shelf life. But if you're just doing, some pheasant breast or something like that, you want to choose a marinade that has sodium phosphates in it. Phosphates raise the pH, and that allows the meat to bind with water more effectively, and it'll keep more of the water and the juice inside the bird as you cook it.
Are you saying just inject it then?
Inject is what I like to do, but you also can just choose a regular marinade with a phosphate. And as long as you leave it in there long enough, that phosphate will get into the meat and have a similar reaction as to injecting it.
Gotcha. Well, earlier I said I was also going to share my favorite recipe. So are you ready for it?
Go ahead.
All right. So this is from my buddy, George Lyle, who if you've watched our show, he's been on it several times. He and I have hunted in several different places. And years ago, he shared this with me. And I promise you that your wife, your child, your friends, or anybody that avoids wild game will like this recipe. Okay. And it is, and I'm saying this for anybody listening, really. I know you like to eat a lot of meat, but there are people out there that I've met that say, I'm not going to eat a pheasant. I'll eat a chicken, but I don't want a pheasant. And this has worked for geese, which a lot of people call them sky carp. I disagree. I think they're delicious when you make them correctly. This is one way to do it. Basically, I've tried this recipe on every bird, every wild game that I can legally hunt that I like to eat. And it's delicious. So you take the breast, and it's only for the breast on this part of it. But if it's a goose breast, you're gonna have to slice it. But if it's a pheasant breast, all you do is you just tamp it down. You just tenderize it. You just want about 1/4 of an inch at the most thickness, but even a little bit less than that. And so now you got the big flat breast. Okay, you're gonna take a dollop of cream cheese, and then you're going to dice onion and jalapenos, and real fine. You're going to put them very generously in the center of this big fillet. Now you're going to season the fillet on the inside, and once you're done with it, you're going to season it on the outside. And you can use anything from, I've tried, I know you guys have a lot of Excalibur seasonings. I've tried the Excalibur Wild Game. I've tried, a handful of different ones. You can kind of experiment with that. But anyway, you basically you cover the breast. Then, of course, what everyone loves is you get bacon out. So you take a strip of bacon, you lay it underneath your breast. Okay, then you fold the entire breast around the cream cheese, the onion, and the jalapeno, and you wrap the bacon around it. And I usually do two slices, one full circle and then the other full circle. And you're just sticking a toothpick through it. So you hold everything together. So you can smoke it or you can grill it. Those are the two ways that I recommend it. But if you smoke it, you're looking at like a 200 to 225, and you just really let it sit there for a long time. With the grill, you just are kind of monitoring it. And when you're all said and done, you're basically like that bacon almost caramelizes around the outside of it, but you have all of those flavors wrapped in there. And now when people bite in, there's so many different juices. It's unbelievable that and I swear to you, I have had people that refuse to eat wild game that when they had it, they're like, wow, what am I eating? And I'm like, oh, sharp-tailed grouse. What? Are you serious? I thought it was chicken. I mean, obviously the color of the meat is a little bit darker there, but like for chicken, they would never, or for pheasant or quail, like they would never know because it's a whiter meat. So there you go. There's my absolute favorite upland recipe. Try it. You can include it in your videos as well, Jonathan, if you want to. But try it, and you won't regret it. I promise you that. It's fantastic.
And you will get the credit, not George. What was his name? Lyle?
Yeah, George Lyle. I always got to give George Lyle. I send him a text every time I make it, and with a picture, and I say, "I'm doing it again, buddy." And he goes, "Ooh, you're up for a good night tonight." Yep. Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully, we maybe gave some people some ideas that they might be able to try with their game. And again, I know we're talking about some fun things to do here, but understanding the time that we're in right now. Jonathan, if people have any specific questions, what do you recommend that they do if in regards to their food, their meat right now, and what they might be able to do with it? Where should they go? What should they do?
Well, I mean, that's why we set up Meatgistics. So it's meatgistics, just like it sounds, .com. That's MEATGISTICS. And we've got a general, a smoking, a meat processing, a bragging board, and even an urgent in case you need a response right away. You can post any question there. I mean, nothing is too stupid when it comes to meat. It's always better to double check than to give yourself, or even worse, somebody else food poisoning. So we, like I said, if Austin or myself don't get back to you within, an hour or two, in all likelihood, somebody else is going to. And that's an experienced wild game, or people aren't going to respond to something they don't know. So you'll get a good response on there. And we've had a lot of people who've come in just for a quick answer or something, and they're now, it feels like they're on there every day for the most part.
Well, we hope that you and your family and your coworkers, we hope you guys all stay safe. We hope you can continue to provide the equipment that people need individually. The workers in that are in meat processing plants and all over the world that need these products to keep our food supply going. So thank you. And we'll probably find more food related topics that I'm going to want to dig into more detail. If you have questions for Jonathan, send them to him. If you have questions for me, if you have food related topics, or really moving forward in this unprecedented times that we're in, if you have topics that you want us to talk about or guests that you would like us to have on, please just reach out to us. We want to know things that you're interested in learning about right now, things that are important to you. You can find us at theflush.tv or on our social channels at The Flush TV. Just search The Flush TV. You'll find us. Send us a message, and we may have you on our next podcast, or we may find the person that you want to learn from on the next podcast. So until then, Jonathan, thank you. Stay safe.
Do the same, Travis. It was great talking to you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your wisdom and sharing it. Thank you very much.